السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعين به ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الأمة وجاهد في سبيل الله حق جهاده حتى أتاه اليقين ونحن على ذلك من الشهيدين. ومن بعد، جزاكم الله خير my dear brothers and sisters. I know it's been a long time because we have stopped doing broadcasting during the month of Ramadan because during the month of Ramadan usually people are busy with worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so inshallah bidnillah ta'ala we're going to be continuing our bidnillah ta'ala series that we have started before the month of Ramadan, so everybody inshallah can benefit from them. So today we're going to be talking about a special topic, and before we have started to talk about what are some of the challenges that our youth are facing, and we started the series to talk about what are some of the challenges that our youth is facing. And today, brothers and sisters, we're going to be talking about one of the most important challenges, and I hope that everybody could tune on and listen to this important topic. So, what are we going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about one of the most common fitan, actually, if it's not the number one fitna that the youth are going through, which is the challenge of love, desires, sexuality, and marriage that people are going through nowadays. So, brothers and sisters, whether our youth, whether they're male or female, they are being exposed to so many trials and so many fitan, and the fitan of desires and the fitan of exposure to the opposite sex and etc. And this is we understand that this topic tend to be a little bit more complex, and maybe some people are tough understanding it. But the thing is, we have to tackle the subject in a most sophisticated and in a designed way so people can understand it. So when we talk about desires, love, marriage, we have to break it down into three different levels: before marriage, during marriage, and after marriage. Before marriage, how could the youth, what the challenge of desires, the challenge of how having a relationship. During marriage, choosing the right wife, choosing the right husband, what are the right steps toward marriage. And lastly is after marriage is understanding the responsibility of being married. Okay, so today we're just going to be talking about the very first stage today, which is the challenge of before marriage. The challenge before marriage, how a young person would tackle the desires, how he tackle a relationship with an opposite sex, and etc. And as you know, and all of you understand this, it's the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created a desire to an opposite sex. And this is part of a natural desire Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have created between male and female. But unfortunately, this desire have to be under control. And but unfortunately, in the nowadays media have really took advantage of this desire and have tried to use it against human beings for their own purposes and for their own agenda, to exploit and brainwash men and women to understand this relationship in a different way. So, brothers and sisters, unfortunately nowadays that part of this the widespread of marriage, sex before marriage, the widespread of boyfriend and girlfriend, the widespread of homosexuality, the widespread of even nowadays in some places incest is become a thing. Incest what became a thing. And unfortunately, all the red the red borders that we thought in the past would never ever cross, now people are now crossing it, unfortunately. And not only that, they're making and they're exporting their their mentality on the youth. Yeah, they're trying to say that, you know, marriage is not good for you. Marriage is restriction. Marriage, you know, you have to be super ready for it. Marriage, you have to be, you know, they're all even fighting for young people to get married at early age. But for someone to have zina at early age, it's okay. It's okay for someone to commit zina at early age, but for you to get married at an early age it's definitely a not, you know. And subhanallah, yani now the society have made it even difficult for young people to get married. Now they say you can't get married unless you are unless you graduate from college, and by the way, by the time you graduate from college, you have to have, you know, you have to have a job, and then you have to have a house, and by the time that you're ready, you're almost, you know, in your 30s, you know. And so how could someone be patient with a desires that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have put inside of him until the age of 35? It's almost, yeah, it's almost impossible. So there is, and that's why we have to change the mentality that we are living it nowadays, brothers and sisters. You know, we have to show the people yani, what how to deal with this, the appropriate ways to deal with this. You know, to show that yani, that th- think right things still can be done in the right way. You know, to show that, you know, there are desires that men have and desires that women have, and but even though these desires are different, you know, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have showed us in the Quran that men are not like women. وليس الذكر كالأنثى. يعني man cannot be a woman and a woman cannot never be a man, you know. So, and that's and there are different in genders. There are differences in genders. So the very first question that we need to ask ourselves is the following: how could a young person deal with these challenges before marriage? How could a young person deal with these sexual challenges before marriage? The number one thing is we have to understand several things that we have to. There's several answers to this question, but the number one thing we have, I'm going to try to answer this one by one. The number one thing is to understand the consequences of immersing yourself in these desires. Many people, brothers and sisters, they go and they challenge themselves because the shaitan, and this is the problem. The shaitan always wants you to explore. The shaitan wants you to try, you know, just once, or, you know, the shaitan always want to. He said he want you to discover new things, you know. But a lot of people, and it's like a hook. Once you're in it, you're in it. You cannot get yourself out of it. You know, it's very difficult to get yourself out of it. So the problem is that you have to understand as a young person, as a male, as a female, that once you step into that zone, there are so many negative consequences that is going to come out of it, and there is no good that comes out of it, because this is an area of haram, an area that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have forbidden, an area that because the people have went inside of it, houses have been destroyed, families have been broken apart, whether because they are watching haram things, whether they are watching, you know, whether they were in an inappropriate relationship, and there are so many psychological and social issues that could destroy yourself in the long run. Yeah, let me give you a few examples. Now, there are so many studies nowadays that this is studies that proves the following. That proves the following. The more relationship that you are in before marriage, the less successful your marriage is going to be. The more, like, and there's actually statistics. They say if a woman, for instance, had um, had three or more partners before marriage, the likelihood of her marriage to be successful is less than 30%. See how bad that is? And not only that, because always, whether we like it or not, when people sleep with so many women, and a woman sleeps with so many men, you always going to compare your husband, your future husband, and your future wife with the people in the past. So it's going to have a psychological component into yourself, and it's going to destroy you from inside. And إلا من رحم ربي, and except for those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have truly guided and have made tawbah. But don't think, oh, it's a free ride, everything is going to be okay, I'm going to make tawbah and then everything will be fine. No, 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 no. Inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would forgive you, but don't think it's going to be a free ride. There is going to be so many negative consequences, whether it was social, psychological, financial, because nowadays these things can be addictive and people spend money, and so many harmful things that could come out of it. So it's important to understand that once you jump into this area of muharramat, of haram, nothing good is going to come out of it, and the long-term negative effect of it is going to be for a long time, and it's very difficult to detach yourself from that. So so the number one thing, brothers and sisters, is to understand how horrible it is, and how much this can negatively affect your life in the long run. So that's the number one thing. The second thing is that to understand that all this world that we live in, or all this world that we see in the media, is fake. Now, nowadays, brothers, people who are, like, for instance, attached or addicted to pornography, or watching women or watching men on TV, they think that an ideal man and an ideal woman is like this. But in reality, none of this exists. None of it exists. In reality, these people have their own problems. They have their own issues. Possibly they're disliked by their own families, who act in front of everyone being the super human being, or the most ideal man, or the most ideal woman. No. In reality, they might have the most miserable life. But what happened is they're in the screen right in front of you, because they're getting paid for it. They're getting paid to put a smile in their faces. They're getting paid to be naked in front of everyone else. You see? So it's important for you to understand this. And the problem is, whether for men or women, he wants to have a wife who's like this, who want to have a husband who's like this. And once you make that as a goal, it's going to destroy your life, because you're never going to have something like that. And it's an analogy. It's a fake picture. And because of that and because you will not be able to reach that level, is going to have a dramatic and psychological effect on yourself. Put aside the addiction, negative effects that you have in your body, and people who are addicted to watching these things, they have a brain of an addict. Just like people who are addicted to cocaine and heroin, they have dramatic effect in their brain. They have troubled parts of their brain. The same thing happened for those who are addicted to these type of things, and you're not going to have the same purity that you had before. You're not going to have the same haya as you would had before. You're not going to have the same life as you had before. The life of purity, the life of honesty, the life of being, of you knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching you. And the life that you have taken away the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Ihfaz Allah yahfazk." Preserves the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will preserve you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect you. So think about these things, brothers and sisters. Yani, you are working toward a fake life that does not exist. And you are immersing yourself in the situation that you think that one day you'll reach, but you're never going to do so. Okay? Now, let's say someone have attempted to leave that life, and they worked hard, and they made tawbah, and they fell back again. What should they do? Khalas, give up? No. Brothers and sisters, for someone to leave that life and to leave this type of addiction, trying to making one attempt is not going to work. You have to make several attempts. You have to leave it once and twice and three times, because you're going to come back to it, possibly, because it's an addiction. Just like with any other addiction, you're going to come back to it and you're going to try again, and then you keep having that well, that you must leave this. Along with that, you ask forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Along with this, you make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would help you. Along with that, you struggle with this. Along with this, you have to, you have to make sure that you're not despair from all of this. You see? So it's important, brothers and sisters, that يعني to attempt again and again and again until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would leave you and guide you to get you out of this. Okay? Now the question here, and that's the kind of the third question. What are some of the things that I could utilize to help me get away from this life? What are some of the things that I could use to get me and sustain me to leave that life? Number one is you have to seek your dignity. Seek your what? Your dignity. What does that mean? Meaning, brothers and sisters, you're not just doing this because it's just haram. And that's good. But do it because you want to dignify yourself, dignify your family, dignify your honor. You know, don't think this is a desire that I must fulfill. No, because understand that the more you are into this life, the more you are as a prisoner, the more you are as a slave to these people, because literally they have enslaved you. You are just jumping from one woman to another, from one scene to another, from one video to another, from one scene to another. So how do you agree to yourself to be enslaved like this? Do you agree to yourself to be like a prisoner to them? That's the question that you have to ask yourself. And any dignified person is that even though I may be into it, I want to be a dignified individual. I don't want to be a prisoner. I don't want to be enslaved to these people. And that's the mentality that you should have. Number one. Number two is you must circle yourself with the right people. As-suhba as-salihah. Good friends, righteous friends. Because maybe a friend have gotten you into this. And a lot of times, you know how these things are introduced? Not someone would tell you, oh, watch this, or do this, or call her. No. Every time this is introduced, and it's introduced in a joking manner. Oh, how about this? Oh, this is funny. And then, oh, why don't you call her? Why don't you go out with her? Oh, it's the prank. No. Nothing. There's no joking in this matter. And that's why it's important for you to circle yourself with good friends. People who fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People who encourage you in doing the right things. People who are going to tell you the right from the wrong. And when they see you doing something wrong, they would warn you. That's a friend. Nowadays, people look down on somebody who's advising them. Oh, he's just a person who steps over their boundary. A person who is who puts his nose in a situation that he does not need to be in. No. If I have someone who could always guide me and show me the right from the wrong, I want to stick with these people. I want to stick from these people, and being around these people, even having fun with these people is good, because even fun with them is going to be halal fun. And you're going to occupy your time with doing good things, righteous things that are going to get you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Third thing is, if you have an ability to get married, get married. You don't have to have a house. You don't have to have a mansion. As long as you're able to, even live with your family, it's fine. And able to sustain yourself with simple life, it's fine. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Ya ma'shar al-shabab, man istata'a minkum al-ba'ata falyatazawwaj." O young people, whoever can afford to get married, then get married. فإنه غض البصر وأحسن الفرج. This is the way you'll be able to lower your gaze and protect your chastity. So this is the way for you to. Another way is to, if you get married, then get married. Don't think I have to get married, I have to get a fancy job. No, because thing is, unfortunately, nowadays if you go and ask for a wife hand, someone's hand, and who had she's asked for a mahar for 50,000 and she wants the house, don't marry that person, because if she started her life based on materialism, then the rest of her life going to be materialism. Look for an honest one, a simple one. Things that who is her number one priority is pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and pleasing you, and creating a family, not money and gold and cars and house. See, that's the issue here, brothers and sisters. So I understand that aspect, and this is very important. So another thing that's going to help you is fasting. If you're a man or woman, fast. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, فَمَنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَعَلَيْهِ بِالصَّوْمِ فَإِنَّهُ لَهُ وَجَاء. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if you cannot afford to getting married, then fast. Fasting is good because fasting is healthy. It decreases your desires, and it enables you to stand on your feet. Okay. Now, if I like, so what about if I'm exposed to situations where I have feelings, before getting married? How should I do? How should I deal with this? How can I connect with the opposite sex? Brothers and sisters, yeah, unfortunately, and this is something we have to understand. Media nowadays have drawn for us so many conclusions that we think we cannot live without. Nowadays, media think the ideal man is the man who is have to be muscular. An ideal man who's wheeling a red car and have a villa. An ideal man is the one who married, who have relationship, or woman who have a relationship before marriage. An ideal woman who have 2 3 jobs, and no one have control over her, and she have a skirt. She's wearing a skirt. An ideal man is, see, all of these things are what, that's what the media is trying to show you. A lot of these things, people nowadays think this is the life that we are living up to, is what we're being exploded to us through TV, movies, and etc. Nowadays, nowadays, if you talk about the issue of polygamy, now it's oh, how come? But for a man to have 3 5 girlfriends, it's okay. How a woman, how nowadays it's normal to have love before marriage and relationship before marriage. How a woman, normally it's okay for possibly a man to hit his wife, and a woman to scream at her husband. You see, all of these things, this is how this thaqafa, this knowledge, unfortunately we're being, we're being fed with this as this is the normal way of doing things. No. And all of this is being, somebody is teaching us, and brainwashing our brain. Brothers and sisters, understand that we have a religion that we should be proud of, and all these things are being laid out to us. How a man approaches a woman, how a man should be lowering his gaze, how a man should dealing with women only based on necessities, how a man should be touching a woman, how a man how a man should have haya, and how a woman should have haya, how a man and woman should not intermingle with among themselves. And even if someone have a feeling, like someone have a feeling against an opposite sex or a woman, he should deal with it in an appropriate way. There is nothing wrong. You have to understand, there is nothing wrong with having a feeling. But the problem here is acting on that feeling in a haram way, whether it is through chatting, calling, relationship, touching, going out. That's the haram aspect of it. But for someone, for instance, had a feeling for this woman, and he contacted her family, nothing wrong with that. If you have able, then contact her family. If you're able to get married, then contact. Why you should go around? As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَادْخُلُوا الْبُيُوتَ مِنْ أَبْوَابِهَا, enter the houses from their doors. Why you have to call and chat and have and dates, and this not enter the house from their door. But if you can't, this is a struggle that you have to go through. This is a struggle that you have to go through, because if you can't, then what do you, and you are cut it from the beginning. And now it's easier to cut or to remove yourself from this religion, from this from the beginning, rather than when someone is really deep into this, and this is where the trauma comes. People find out, oh, they're not the right fit after they have slept with them 3-4 times. They spent on them $3,000-4,000, and they wasted 3 years of their life. Oh, they're not a right fit. Oh, really? All this nonsense. So it's important, brothers and sisters, that we go about this in the right way, and what is being instructed by our relationship, by our relationship. But now, it's important, brothers and sisters, also that so for another question that we tend to ask, that then if I left this relationship, or I have this feeling for this woman, or I have feelings, man, how can I make up for that? It's simple. And first of all, you have to occupy yourself with different things. You have to possibly widen. You have to widen your the people around you, or give the people around you more love. Like, for instance, love your parents more, love your brothers and sisters more, have a better relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you are, because thing is, love, you have to understand that if you either, if you don't give it to someone, there is other ways to give it too. Going back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, have a better relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a way for you to release that energy that you have, that love that you have toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, toward your parents, toward your brothers and sisters, your natural brothers and sisters, natural born brothers and sisters, and etc. And that's the way for you to release yourself. So this is some of the ways that you deal with these relationships prior to marriage. Inshallah, next week we're going to be talking about how the steps toward marriage, and what happened after marriage, as challenges that our youth are facing. I hope this would answer most of your questions, and I hope Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would guide all of us. جزاكم الله خير. سبحانك وحمدك نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين عملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا. جزاكم الله خير، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.